Hi there, and welcome to Dork Wars Live, your galactic hub for everything Star Wars and more. My name's Blake, and I'm here with some really cool guests tonight. As most of you guys know, we have started a podcasting network. Dork Wars helped found this thing, and it has been a fun ride so far, just getting everything set up. And I love doing logos and designing things and this and that. So this has always been a lot of fun for me. So let's go on and get into the guests. First off, we have Ryan. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. This is Ryan of the Portable Holes Publishing Podcast. Great to have you on.
Thanks. Yeah, great to be here. And thanks for setting all this up.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. Right. And we're going to keep it rolling with Manny. What's going on, Manny, from Trekker's Delight?
Hi, Blake. How are you?
Doing great, man.
How's it going? I'm well. I'm really happy to be here, and I really appreciate all the effort and concern that you've given to this, man. I'm very excited.
So Manny is coming from us at 5 a.m. He is, whew, I don't know how you
do dedication.
I'd be out.
I'm happy to be here. Really.
And we also have Marco from the Entertainment Rants.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great.
Like like everyone said, thank you very much for setting all this up. It has been a fun ride so far. We're looking forward to, everybody collaborating, getting together, doing things. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be really awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. It's like I said, I love doing the setup. I like where this is going. It seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. And we are missing the folks from the Iconis podcast, which is okay. If they join us later, we'll throw them in. But we'll see. Well, let's look who's in the chat. Let's look who's in the chat already. We just started doing multi-streams to Facebook and Twitter, or not Twitter, Twitch, excuse me. But our YouTube is where it's at usually. So we've got Joker Voice. What's old JV saying in the chat? I'm here to meet the new kids, and I gotta wait. They don't know who. No, they don't. I don't blame them. I wish I didn't know who you were sometimes, but yeah, love that guy. Great guy. And we got our friend Spencer from the Dingus Den in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Spencer. And I think we see I see a dork in the chat. Wesley, what's going on, Wesley? I guess he didn't want to be here. That's okay. That's all right. Oh, what's up, dork? Yep, there's his catchphrase. What's up, dorks? But awesome, yeah. So I've set up this whole stream kind of to introduce the network, just to get to know these guys a little bit better, so our viewers can get to know them a little better, and to kind of get a little thing rolling. We're gonna start. I think we're going to try to start doing some lives from the Subculture Podcast YouTube page. I've set it up, but we really hadn't done anything on that yet. So we're going to try. Oh, I forget. Grave Reviews is also in the chat. I can't miss old Alan. Great guy. If you missed his little story last week on our spooky, spectacular episode, go back and check that out. That made my night. Anyways, so I'm just trying to get these guys out to our listeners and see where it goes. We're going to be doing this, I think, on our own our own YouTube channel here coming up. We haven't quite worked out all the kinks yet. We're still pretty new to this. So without further ado, let's go on and get into some Star Wars, or not Star Wars news, just pop culture, anything kind of news. Now hear this.
Now hear this. Now hear this.
Now you hear this, whoever you are.
All righty. So for our news tonight, is the MCU in trouble? I've seen it everywhere. I've seen a ton. I think Variety came out with an article. We're seeing not just like Screen Crush and all these little nerdy news outlets coming out with it. It's making it mainstream, asking the question, is Marvel, the MCU, in trouble? Marco, let's start with you, man. What do you think, just starting off?
I think it's a double edge. I think in some ways they're going to be in trouble if they don't clean up a lot of the stuff. I think the new Spotlight series that they're throwing Echo under might help. so people kind of keep away the the continuity stuff and just have their own separate shows. I think the writing needs to get a lot stronger in some of the shows, but yeah, I mean, it's been going a long time, so to hold public interest this long at that kind of level, you're right, the $1 billion level, that's really tough for anybody to hit. You definitely get oversaturated with it, and people start to get burnt out with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, it could be, but if they tighten it up and scale some things back and just make some hard stories, and clean up things like they did with She-Hulk and things like that, and the Moon Knight that didn't have Moon Knight in it, things like that. They start bringing some stuff like that back into where they need to put it. They could bring the ship back around, absolutely. And trust in Kevin Feige that he can do it. But I think like anything, like Star Wars, they have their issues with certain people that are getting their hands, and I think the MCU had the same problem. People just putting too many hands in it. You know what I mean? And it just has to muddy the waters. So hopefully they can. I enjoyed Moon Knight too. I just wish there was more Moon Knight in Moon Knight. You know what I mean? It was definitely, we're always wanting for a season 2 or for him to pop up. They left us hanging for a prime way to get Moon Knight in a season 2, but doesn't sound like that's coming.
No, not that we've heard. A lot of times you kind of hear about this the next season before the current season ends or shortly after. It's kind of what has me a little spooked about Ahsoka. It's not looking good.
I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm gonna watch, right? I'll watch Echo, I'll watch, whatever. I got time. But maybe if I didn't run a podcast, maybe I wouldn't be trying to catch everything that comes down the line.
Right.
I don't think I'll be going to the theaters to see the Marvels. You know what I mean? Might wait for that one to come on streaming.
That's right. But no, I like that take, man. You can get oversaturated. It happens. Manny, what do you think, man? Is the MCU in trouble?
I totally agree with what Marco just said, just listening to him. And what I wanted to say for that is he's totally right about the maintaining that energy for that arc of time, whatever. So everyone is going to naturally compare it to the energy they had in the earlier phases. So for me, I was really into the television shows. I was an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. guy. I watched the Inhumans. I watched all those little... I was super excited for Cloak and Dagger because I liked that comic book when I was a kid. And these all fizzled and it was weird and it didn't have that energy that they promised. And so I think what naturally happened is, again, the currency that we all use now is attention. How much time is in your day? We're all busy people. So we're choosing more selectively. And we have these expectations of where the MCU should be because they came out the box so hard, man. And now we have space that's opening for other projects. I love, for instance, Invincible. I love the DCEU cartoons ever since they started like 10, 12 years ago. I love the cartoon movies and the shows. They're killing it, And so there was these kind of spaces that were carved out by each. So we keep having this expectation of the MCU to reach this height or this height or this height, and it's just not there. I'm excited about the firing, I guess, of the production team on that Daredevil thing and bringing back the new person from Punisher. It's very funny stuff. I know people don't... I still watch She-Hulk. I thought it was cool in its own way. Like, I can appreciate all of these pieces in the space that they have. But the most excited that I've been for like a TV show was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it was, before they reorganized, it was that first real show that was supposed to bring the MCU to the small screen. And they keep trying to shoot with these really big movies like the Marvels or whatever, and then the payoff isn't as good as a series. And they do these 1 or 2 season series and they don't really satisfy because you're promised with these. They should stop spiffing. Like, they should stop like making these things so big. So I do think it's in trouble in the same way. What I mean by that is I think that we should stop expecting them to be as good as they were and allow them to evolve into something new, and then appreciate it for that newness. But no, it's never going to be especially if the DCU does good stuff. I like what they're doing, and then other projects, can make space for those things. So as if they listen to their fans, I think they'll be okay. I just don't think they're listening to their fans.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, man. If you just listen to the fans, they're going to tell you what they want. And a lot of times it's a lot of the same things you hear. So No, very good stuff. Joker Voice says the fourth quarter investor call this Wednesday will be an interesting one. I agree. I think so too. We'll probably get some more information on that. I like numbers. You know, I'd like to talk about numbers in the sense of what's coming next and is this going to get a second season and stuff. I don't like to get too much into it. I'd rather talk about how I like this series or the shows or the movies or whatever. But Ryan, what do you think, man? The MCU, is it in trouble?
It's the the quote that comes to mind is, how can I see you if you won't go away? And so I think that's, as you know, like, I think you've all made great points. I think part of the issue is it's oversaturated. Part of the issue is just that, like, pop culture is cyclical, and so we can't expect that the MCU is going to dominate everything forever. So I think part of it has to do with the quality, right? Like, the quality of the writing just is not, it's inconsistent. Because watching something like Loki, I'm loving this season of Loki, but then you'll get things that are just, you know, mediocre or up and down, you know, they're you know, or not what it should be, or what. And so I think a lot of it, you know, obviously the quality needs to be brought up. I do think that there was a point in time, I think after Endgame, where they could have reset, right? It could have been like, all right, let's give it a year, you know, let's give it a year and a half, and like let things breathe and build back up the excitement. And that didn't happen. We just went right into, I think it was No Way Home, and it just kept going. And there was not a point for us to just kind of sit and relax. We're just getting so much stuff thrown at us. In the meantime, we're getting other great stuff, that's other great, you know, pop culture comic IP that's not related to the MCU, that's just as good. You know, you're getting things like The Boys, that's been awesome, or Invincible, that was amazing. We're getting all this content that's living up to and in some ways piggybacking off of what the MCU has done, but now there's real legitimate competition for our eyeballs and for our time. So I think part of it is just, we need better quality, and maybe don't put out so much stuff, but make sure that everything that you do put out is really, really good. And so, like, at the end of the day, you know, the MCU, you know, Marvel, it is, you know, Disney owns it. It is at the top of the kind of pop culture landscape, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just a matter of, like, you know, for us fans who are all going to go see everything that comes out, you know, are we going to be excited about it, or are we going to be trash talking it? And, you know, in 5 years, is it just kind of something that we just do out of obligation, or are we still excited about, you know, whatever is coming up? I will say, like, you know, like I said, I think Loki's great. And I do think, you know, like, I really hope that whatever Jonathan Majors is accused of, he didn't do, because he is phenomenal. And he is the person that can be that Thanos level threat, that, you know, his performances have been so good that that's the guy that, like, you want to bring the MCU back. Like, he's the villain that we need, if he's not a horrible human being and goes to jail. But is it dead? No. Could it be better? Yes, it can be much, much better. And I hope that they start, you know, just slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah. Wesley's heard a lot of good things about Loki. I need to watch as well. I haven't.
I started, so I watched episode 1, which is fine. My wife is not really into it, so I've been trying to watch it without her. And then last night I started episode 2, and I just binged everything up to date. It's so good. To me, better than season 1. Like, definitely, you know, the best MCU show in a while to me.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check it out. I am gonna say this. I'm not gonna hate on anyone for liking anything I don't like. That is something that I do not do. I stay away from. I like to disagree, honestly, with people, because you can have really good conversations about it, but I'm not going to be like, man, you shouldn't like that. That's stupid. That's dumb. So you're not going to have any of that here with me. So you know, the MCU, is it in trouble? I think it kind of is. I think something we all kind of hit on is, once we went from Endgame, which was a fantastic bookend, without hesitation, we just jump into Far From Home. Yeah. No, Far From Home, No Way Home. No Way Home. And then we go right into the Disney Plus era. That phase 4 started with WandaVision on Disney Plus, and it has not let up. I mean, we're getting steady stream of shows and in movies as well. I mean, we're getting movies mixed in there, but it's like we never get to stop. And if we're never stopping, neither are they. And are they just pushing out stuff for the sake of pushing out stuff for the streaming service? Are they really taking a hard look at where the story's going? I don't know. It's just not the same to me. I think that we got a really good buildup. You know, we got Iron Man, then we got a Thor movie, then we got what's the other movie I'm thinking of?
Captain America.
Not Hulk. Captain America. Yeah. Then we get Captain America, and then all that kind of culminates in the Avengers. Awesome. Then you get a little bit more story on people, and there were all these individual outings that really didn't connect to everything else until the very end scene. But we haven't had a lot of that building up stories here and there. Yeah. It's like it's trying to work together, but it's not at the same time. Like they're trying to build something, but we don't know quite what it is, and it's not quite working. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it. Ryan, you did touch on this. There's some reports out there, rumors, and you know, since it's a rumor, we definitely got to hit just some rumors here, but Jonathan Majors, it seems like they may be trying to pivot from Kang and try to move into some Doctor Doom stuff. I've seen those reports here and there, rumors, as it were. So
yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I think Jonathan Majors is such a great actor that I don't want them to pivot away from him. Just seeing, you know, like Ant-Man I thought was not good at all. But he was amazing in it. Again, in Loki, he's great. And he's playing variants of, these different variants, and each one is its own thing. So I want him because I think he's got the gravitas and the range to play that kind of villain, that kind of threat. Right. And so in that way, I do, although I love Dr. Doom, but the problem is we fall into that same trap of, okay, what, they're going to just throw Dr. Doom in without any real buildup, so I'd rather them not do that, take a break if they need to, rather than shoehorn Dr. Doom in because they need a big Avengers level threat. Like, okay, give it a couple of years and build it if we have to, but don't just throw him in because, you need somebody to replace Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, it's too much, man. Like it's too much shifting. I mean, Kang is already a Fantastic Four villain, and we haven't seen much of the Fantastic Four. All we have is Reed Richards from a different timeline in the MCU at this point. So I wish that I'm okay with getting Kang because he's kind of separate. He's Fantastic Four, but he's separate from them by generations and all. So you can work that in there. But Dr. Doom, you're going to have to shoehorn a Fantastic Four movie if you want Dr. Doom. And I don't want them to just throw it in there because it's Manny or Marco. Any thoughts on Jonathan Majors being canned for Dr. Doom? Kang being canned for Dr. Doom.
I would not like to see him be canned. I think he is a phenomenal actor. I think he is crushing the role of all the different variants that he's been playing. So I would hate to see that. Obviously, it might be out of their control. But if they do, it's going to be if they're going to continue on with Kang and they have to replace him because it's movies, they can write a different person in as Kang if they want to, as a different whatever. That can obviously happen. It's still going to shake everybody. There'll be that shake off period of like, he was better, but they'll make it go if they have to. Because I think you're right. I think Dr. Doom would be a huge disservice to that character if they just try to shoehorn him in and quickly shift and pivot that way. I don't think it's going to make any sense to anybody. You know what I mean? It is such a shaky ground to begin with. Like, don't rock the boat, at this point. So if they can keep them going, great, because I'd rather see that going and play that whole storyline out. Get to Kang Dynasty, get to Secret Wars, do what you have to do. You know what I mean? And keep him going. I love Dr. Doom. I'm a huge Dr. Doom fan. I can't wait till they do eventually get to him. But if they're going to, let's do it right. Let's do it right.
I'm going to tell you that I do like Jonathan Majors as Kang. I don't think they've done the cleanest job of setting everything up. They're kind of doing it in the right way. I think they've got him in Loki and they've got him in Ant-Man. I think they're doing it kind of the right way. But I think Jonathan Majors is acting fantastically in that role. But I do want to see it accentuated. JV had a good little tidbit here. Kang Dynasty should be the setup intro for a proper Fantastic Four. I can agree with that. If you're going to keep it in the MCU, for sure. I know I don't have this quite on the notes, but I kind of wish they would go kind of the DCEU route where they just kind of deconstruct everything and have it in its own places, like they're getting ready to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think the connected universe thing is starting to get played out a little bit, but so I've also heard more rumors. Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff, Iron Man and Black Widow, respectively, may be returning. I don't know.
Seems like a last ditch effort. That seems like a way just bailing out the water out of the sinking ship and hopefully finding him under there somewhere.
Is it? I mean, I guess it's plausible. I mean, you got the multiverse, so anything is possible.
I heard that the actress who plays Natasha Romanoff, she'll never come back. I forget her name.
Well, she got dealt a pretty bad hand though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like her and Disney, you're right. Now that I think about it,
they settled it out, but that I would, if I was her, I wouldn't.
Yeah, she'll never come back.
Still not a good relationship.
But Tony Stark was on Joe Rogan, and he had that bit where he's like, are you betraying the audience if you come back? Don't you want to see it? And Joe Rogan was like, absolutely not, buddy. We can have a multiverse. Like, come back. And he's like, well, isn't it a betrayal? He's like, no, we want you back. I understand that desire to like, it's kind of like when people give notes then they're like, bring it back to season 1, bring it back to like Iron Man. And of course, Iron Man, the original Iron Man was my favorite like movie in the MCU until Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. And then that became my favorite just because the fun that they were having, it exudes from the actual like movie. You can see how much fun it was and how natural it was, that natural sort of effortless sort of fun that they were having. But no, I want to come back to your original question on Kang and all that stuff. I don't know the man. I don't know Jonathan Majors. I just know that he's killing it on screen, right? Just so exceptional. But what I will say for the Doctor Doom and the Secret Wars that Marco was intimating towards and stuff like that, and if we want to get to that, I was a kid who watched like all the Spider-Mans, and I love the Beyonder, and I love the Secret Wars, and all that stuff that I was a kid, I'm starting to see like on the screen and stuff like that. So I'm excited for Doctor Doom. I'm excited for the Fantastic Four. But if they, as Marco just said, they've screwed up the Fantastic Four so many times that if you don't bring it back properly, okay? I want to see Franklin Richards. I want to see Gladiator. I want to see, the Shi'ar dynasty and X-Men. They keep rewriting. You see them keep changing, like what they're going to see in the next 8 to 10 years. They keep changing and changing. They don't have a cohesive vision. And I think that as a fan, you want to know that the people who are handling this wonderful, delicate thing that you love have a plan. And I think that maybe that's what some people are upset about with the writing and the inconsistencies between the storylines that we as the fans catch because we're eagle-eyed or we're trying to like, what about this and what about that? Like the writers should be fans too. So I want them to be as excited about creating this as we are consuming it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. 100%. And I think that's why I kind of want at least a soft reboot, some kind of little reboot where we get the Fantastic Four, X-Men, and maybe throw Spider-Man there. Because if you think about it, even Iron Man, Thor, they were pretty much like B-listers when they started building the MCU. Yeah. Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, people, they're not the mainstream Marvel heroes, and they couldn't use them at the time. They were owned by Fox, so they did what they could, and now all those heroes have come up. So why not reboot it with those that are kind of classically Marvel staples that you now have the rights to? I think a soft reboot just set on the foundation of X-Men and Fantastic Four would be phenomenal. Yeah. And I would like to say James Gunn, who directed the Guardian of the Galaxy films, you said that was one of your favorite ones, the first one. He was the life and soul of those movies. So and he's gone. He's at DC now. So. But I'm sorry, Mandy, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying that's even more drama. Like I don't know. It's we've had 10 plus years. How long has the MCU been going? 2007,
2008. Yeah,
right?
I think it's 8.
15 years, boys. We've been blessed. Yeah. Like I'll take it. I'll take all the projects. Yeah. Give me a season of Inhumans. Give me a season of Cloak and Dagger. Give me a season of but I'll still watch it and consume it and try to place it now. I'm hoping they'll come around and just like Fantastic Four, as you said, with a soft reboot, and fix it and do something better. I wanted to see Michael B. Jordan be the new Superman. I just found out that there's a black Superman, Calvin Ellis.
Yeah.
And like we can go beyond like, what we call the like. Why do we keep retelling the same story? We don't need to see Uncle Ben die every time. We don't need to see the Batman become Batman. Like I loved the Batman.
We know Batman.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
No, I love that take. I love that take. I was so happy when I didn't have to see Uncle Ben die again. I was so happy when I didn't have to see, the Waynes go down an alley and get we know those stories. You know, we know those stories. Even people who aren't geeks or they know those stories for the most part. So you don't have to bog us down with the origin every single time you redo a character.
But isn't that the big question, though? Sorry, Ryan. Isn't that the big question, though, when you have geeks and fans who watch it, and there's only so many people, so you have to bring in the general public to really boost the numbers to get over that billion. Mm-hmm. They don't know the story. Yeah, they don't. Maybe they don't. They haven't seen the pearls drop. Right. They don't know. You know what I mean? How Batman became Batman. So they do it again, and Uncle Ben dies again, and just keep retelling it, like you said, and they just keep doing it for the other people who don't know the story, and they'd be lost. Like, how did this dude get spider powers? There he goes, gets bit by the spider again. You know what I mean? But for the fans, like you said, I was alive, for '89 Batman. Yeah. You know what I mean? Had to see the pearls drop. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's I knew the story. I was born in '76. I know the story. Been a Batman fan forever.
Yeah.
People who aren't.
Well, that's kind of like the conundrum. Like I'm actually working on a video, podcast on this. That the origin story is central to all of these stories, but we know the beats. Like we know almost every single origin story is the same beats, and so that may also kind of bleed into why we're just kind of bored with some of this, is because like instead of just telling good stories, we're stuck with the same. Again, we're stuck with the origin story constantly. We get all the same things that we're getting and that we're used to, and so that might be part of it. Is how do you tell these stories if we're going to bring on new characters? How do you do it in a way that serves both the fans? It's like, if we get an X-Men reboot that doesn't go through their origin, or a Fantastic Four reboot that doesn't really go into their origin, we're going to mostly know it. We'll understand it. We can dive right in and get it. And how do you do that in a way that non-fans get as well? And so that is a bit of a challenge, because we do get a lot of these stories do kind of just follow the same formula. And because of that, it's like, I don't think I'll wait for that movie. I'm going to wait for Blue Beetle. Why do I need to see that? It's just going to be the same as any other origin story. So that is part of the issue.
But I think that Spider-Man series with Tom Holland worked well.
Exactly.
We didn't have to have an origin, but you got it. You understood why he became Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They backtold it,
but also like everybody knows it. Like that's the other thing. That's part. It seemed like the Batman
can get it because they backtold it. Yeah, they slipped it in without making it an origin story.
Yeah,
you still were able to get the origin. In a minute way. Just we kicked it in just so it's there, but we didn't centralize the entire movie on it.
Yeah, and it was a good story. Like on its own, it works. You can take Spider-Man out of it, make another character, and it's going to work because it's just a good story, and that's part of it. It's like just write good stuff, and people are going to go watch it.
In two, we have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, huge hit. We have the Andrew Garfield movies, which they weren't quite as big a hit with everyone, but the main, people in the general public saw that movie. People who were not geeks, I think that by now those folks know that story. Even with Batman, we've been getting Batman since '89. So Batman movies. I think everyone knows, even beyond our scope, they know those origin stories. But now Iron Man and Captain America and Scarlet Witch and Ant-Man, they definitely don't know. So you have to do it sometimes. I like what Bruno says down here. He's on Facebook. Thank you. We don't have a lot of people watch on Facebook yet.
Bruno's actually on my show. Bruno's one of my co-hosts.
Oh, I thought so. I thought so. Thank you for joining the chat, Bruno. How about we stop rebooting, just write a continuation story? That's kind of what the MCU is. But I think we can do it better than we're doing now.
I mean,
I'm upset with
it's
the Marvels. Sorry, go ahead.
No, okay, Manny. So Bruno is a huge John Wick fan. If you heard our show, he's a huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Didn't need the origin story.
Yeah.
We got it. We understood why he becomes an assassin.
Yeah.
We didn't need
Exactly,
John Wick growing up and how he got into doing it.
Yeah.
We got why he went back to doing it, but we
Yeah.
didn't have to know why he did it. And it was a phenomenal series.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
I think sometimes the mystery is cool. If you think back to A New Hope, watching Star Wars, New Hope, and you meet Han Solo, guess what? Guess what we find out about Han Solo? His ship did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, and he's running from Jabba the Hutt. He's a cool dude. I don't even know any more about his past. I don't want to know. That's awesome. Let's just go forward.
Neither
with
did
that
anybody else because nobody watched Solo.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing. Like, there's some things I do not want demystified.
Yeah.
Now they break it down. It kind of takes away from that character for me sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, it's not as cool as I imagine it to be. And the imagination is I think it's worth it for the character.
Yeah. And I think it dumbs a lot of these things. It's like, respect the intelligence of the audience. Like, we don't need everything spoon fed to us. We're going to get it. You know, the average person's going to get it. And if they don't, they'll go online and read about it. So I think that's also part of it. Is like, we don't need being spoon fed. Like, just respect our intelligence and write good stories. And I think that's going to work far better than trying to give us every little detail of the background. Cause you're absolutely right. It's, you know, like there's this, the mystery is cool. And and you create your own kind of headcanon. And that we don't need to have everything spelled out for us.
Yeah.
That only comes with 15 years of a generation growing up on MCU or whatever, where superhero movies are being consumed so easily. And so there's so much. So now you've reached a new echelon, a new generation of people who are like, okay, we get it. But at first they were taking a chance with Iron Man. Marvel was taking a chance with it. And so we've built it into something, and I think that's why people get so disappointed, because they have high expectations.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you know, you're 15 years into a franchise. I mean, it's a whole big franchise. It's its own thing, and you know, it's sad to part with it. But sometimes I think you need to. This is from way back. I don't even know if Wesley's still on, but he said that, oh man, I lost it. Oh no, I destarted before I showed it. I don't know if I can find it now. I can. He said he was looking forward to Deadpool with Wolverine. Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's the next thing I was gonna say. Yeah, definitely.
That's the kind of stuff we need out of Marvel, I think, for sure.
That is because of Ryan Reynolds and how cool they are, and they insist because they have the money and the prestige and the ability now to write their own stories. They can insist on creative license, but otherwise, I think we're noticing in the MCU and other projects that they're not taking chances, and they're watering stuff down, and they're making it as inoffensive as possible. Whereas we want more R-rated content, we want more things that take chances, and we want more original stories. I think Ryan Reynolds is the best hope you have for that meta sort of thing that we need to bring the X-Men into the actual universe. I don't know how he does it or what they're going to do. The variant idea is very cool because it allows us to see different versions. Even the Mr. Fantastic thing, the guy John Krasinski said that he did it only like once, right? Like it was only a one-off, and that you'll have other Mr. Fantastics. I loved Mr. Fantastic when I was a kid. I really wanted to be like Reed Richards. Yeah, and so to see like proper versions of him and the Invisible Woman, and like, you know, like to see that instead of just shoehorning. You said it earlier, the shoehorning of like, I can't remember who said it, but we need to allow these things to happen organically. And I don't think movies is the vehicle anymore to do it. That's what I was gonna say. I know everyone's really upset about the Marvels, but I'm upset that they mishandled. You know, I love the Miss Marvel thing. It's the first Muslim character, first Pakistani. Like I got to see, you know, that representation in my world, and I got to see like that was the cool part, you know, is exploring a whole other dimensional part of like the MCU. Because I love these different things that they're exploring. They may not do it well, but I love that they take a shot, just like with Inhumans, just like with Cloak and whatever.
I thoroughly enjoyed Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed Miss Marvel.
Fangirl, I love the exactly fan service.
You had something, you know, and it really wasn't quite geared towards my audience. It was more for a younger audience, I think. But it was sweet. It was nice. And now she's coming into the Marvel, so she's getting into like bigger stuff. But I think the show itself just it showed that family feel. It had values, you know. I think it was just a good show all around. It didn't involve too much of the outside MCU kind of stuff. It was its own thing.
Yeah.
Again, it was like that origin thing, right? Like
yeah,
they just stopped
But I
short of
didn't know
actually
that.
showing the full.
But
Pardon?
I didn't know that origin. So
Yeah.
Oh, right.
you know, not in
right.
that
Yeah.
way. So
But I
I think
in TV though, there's a little bit more of an opportunity to do that just because, you could do that in episode 1 or episode 1 and 2, and then you can actually tell your story. So I think that because you have like several episodes to do it, it's a little bit more acceptable there. But yeah, to your point, I think that, I love when you do get exposed to a world that you're not that is not typically represented in a positive light in media. And so that was one of the things about Miss Marvel that was great, was just giving us something new and different by creators that were not the typical creators we have. So I do like that Marvel, will take those chances. And so that's the one risk, is if you start like saying, all right, you know what, screw this, we're doing 2 movies and 2 TV shows like a year, you start to lose that, because, we're only going to get a certain, certain people on these projects. So, part of it is, okay, yeah, let them, on some levels, like, yeah, let them take as many swings as they want. Some are going to hit, some will miss. So there is that part of it, I think, where you don't want to lose out on some creators and some ideas that maybe we wouldn't get if they're not just churning it out. It just sometimes it feels like it's just getting churned out for the sake of it, and it's like, put out good stuff rather than just like throwing things out because we need to make money and get eyeballs on Disney Plus.
yeah.
I think that's the same for Daredevil. Like
Yeah.
what we're, like the. Oh my God, how much time you have? I mean, I missed the Defenders, right? Like.
I could talk about it all night.
Come on, buddy. Come on.
This is its own topic by itself, isn't it? I mean, it's
I still rewatch like Luke Cage. I still rewatch like I wanted White Tiger. I wanted to see like Stick and the Hand, and I wanted to see. I mean, maybe we can all talk about Iron Fist and what it was supposed to be and whatever it is, but I wanted to see more Jessica Jones. I wanted that, and I want the way that they shot that, and the way that they're all coming from different points of view and then coming together. They deserve to join the greater MCU. We deserve to see them in a much larger like role and stuff like that. And oh my God, Vincent D'Onofrio! Like, I'm so excited. I didn't until I saw the trailer for Echo. I didn't get it, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, this is awesome. I don't know what this is, but and is it because I'm so starved for awesome stuff from the MCU, or is it that it's that awesome? I don't know. But either way, I'm going to consume the heck out of that. I can't wait to see that thing. It looks so good. And plus, I've been wanting Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. I want to see more of him. He was so good. And actually brings it back to the Jonathan Majors thing. I think we're starved for people who are like good at the character that they bring. I know that people didn't like Brie Larson. Yeah. I know that people didn't, there's certain people that didn't like as the casting, but Kingpin, amazing for me. Again, it's the shadows of Spider-Man.
He's Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, and Ubaldo says it good here. It's almost like Iron Man bringing new fans to the MCU, but also you need younger audiences to bring new fans. And JV said something cool too here. That's the problem. They're not bringing eyes to Disney Plus. These things aren't turning a profit like they used to. So we'll see where it goes. I think Netflix did a great job with Daredevil and that whole little universe they built. And it seems like they're going to try to make it kind of fit in Disney stuff. I don't know exactly how. So we'll see, man. And yeah, that is definitely a future topic for us is the MCU and where it's going and how it should be. I think that's great. We'll jot that down for later. But for now, though, it's good to mention that Dork Wars, the podcast, has a merchandise store.
Merchandising? What's that? Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Open up the store.
We've got Dork Wars, the t-shirt, Dork Wars, the hoodie, Dork Wars, the coffee mug. And tonight, I usually have like a Dork Wars crazy item that we really don't offer, but we actually do offer this one. We have all new merchandise. Well, not all new. I mean, we got some new merchandise. We are on Teespring. And Teespring finally started doing stitched hats, which is awesome because I love hats, man. I love hats. So now you can get Dork Wars, the trucker hat. You can get Dork Wars, the beanie. It's all on our merch store, which you can, of course, find on dorkwarspodcast.com. So check that out for sure. There you can also find our links to wherever we podcast, our Spotify, our Apple Music, Google Podcast. We're everywhere. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, we're probably there. So check us out. Also on Facebook, on Twix, which we call Twitter X, whatever the heck it is now. We just call it Twix. But pretty much you find dorkwarspodcast.com. You will find all of that stuff. This is usually the part of the show where I let you guys kind of plug your stuff, but that's the whole point of the show. So after when we get in the main topic, we'll do that. But for everything we're doing here for Dork Wars, a podcast, for all these great pods, let's just like and subscribe. Yeah, man, just hit the like, hit the subscribe. Don't let it pass you by. But tonight, our main topic is the Subculture Podcast Network. So, without further ado, punch it. Yeah, man, we're doing it now. We are here. I'm pretty stoked about this whole adventure. Yes, Spencer, Twix is not sound nasty. Actually, that's a candy bar. But anyway, so I am very excited about this new venture. Hanging with you guys is going to be fun. Promoting you guys and just having this kind of family, awesome relationship. I'm ready for it. So just starting off, I want to go to each one of you and just talk about your podcast, what you guys do there, and that's how we'll start this whole thing. So Ryan, what's up, man? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so it's been a chaotic month for me, as we were talking about earlier. So I used to host a podcast called the Jim Wits Podcast, which is just fitness. And about a year ago, I kind of rebranded to focus just on pop culture. So like I talk, mostly pop culture reviews, but I also do a lot of do episodes on comics. So for me, the other thing that I've been involved with recently has been writing comics. And so I have a series called Creating the Comic, where I kind of go through the different steps that different aspects of creating a comic book as I'm going through it. And I also kind of do deep dives. So I have like one video, which is like a looking at, speaking of the MCU, the rise and fall of the old Hollywood studio system and how that compares to the MCU. So actually a pretty interesting video, because there are some really interesting comparisons between the two. And then even now, like I haven't really done much last month with I launched a Kickstarter for my comic, and I've been really focused on that, but we're getting kind of back into it this week with the Marvels, which I will go see, and it'll probably be my first review up since I'm back. So I'm interested to see how good or bad that is. But yeah, the Portable Hole podcast is where you can find everything at portableholepublishing.com. And then the podcast is, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or iTunes, or Apple Podcasts. God. So anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find it, Portable Hole podcast. And again, review stuff, talk comics. And I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're working on an audio drama that will be released on its own feed, but will also be released through the Portable Hole podcast feed as well. So yeah, doing lots of stuff, and I'm really excited to be part of a group, because I think that's the one thing that I've been missing over the last few years, is really just being a part of something bigger than just like, this thing that I'm putting out every week.
Yeah. And there's something to it. I was telling you guys earlier, I've been part of a network before and had a good time and left for my own reasons. But this is something that I like. I like being part of a group. Dork Wars, like my show is going to be what it's always been. It's going to be that thing. but at the same time, when you're part of something bigger, it's cool to add what I have to what Ryan's doing, and then what Marco's doing, and what Manny's doing. When you add all that stuff together, you really get something special a lot of times, and it allows you to network. And I'll have you guys on my show, I'm sure, throughout everything, and I'll be on your shows. It just opens up new possibilities, and that is the cool thing about being connected. So awesome! Thank you, Ryan. Manny, what do you got for us?
Hey everyone. I am one of the co-founders of Trekkers Delight. We are 4 people who came together a couple years ago to talk about Star Trek. We're all Star Trek nerds, and that's actually how I met Marco. Marco's been on a few times, and it was my first foray into podcasting completely. Like I had never talked about nerdy things before, even as nerdy as I was. I'm a actual factual scientist and retired Army captain. So I actually love that and live that. And just being able to talk to you guys. And I love being part of the Trekkers Delight Network and being able to branch out in this way. Sometimes when I'd watch Marco's show, I wanted to see more stuff like that, where I could talk about the things that weren't just Star Trek, like other nerdy things from the 80s or 90s that he does in a very funny, humorous way. But we all have different shows in the Trekkers Delight. It's a channel, umbrella channel, and there are different shows within it. Jermaine, Marie, and William, the co-hosts with me. And my shows in the channel, I have a what if, just like the Marvel what if. And it's like in Star Trek, like, well, what if this happened? What if Worf was born in not Russia or something? So there's something to that effect. I do one called Opposite Treks. My cousin Mo and I started that when he started to argue that the Federation was evil, and I was very pro-Federation. And we've had this argument ever since we were kids, and so we wanted to bring that debate in a humorous way to the screen. And Techno Trek, we talk about the technology of Trek. But there are other really great shows there. You should definitely check out Trekkers Delight, fantastic shows. They do a live show every Thursday at 8:00. And yeah, I'm just happy and excited to have this conversation. And I've been really busy, so I've been doing my own projects. I'm a school teacher. I'm trying to get back into having free time between marking and being with the kids and stuff. So I'm just really jazzed again to be on the mic and talking to people about things that I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about all of these things when I'm consuming them, and matching your energy, Blake, like getting, because you putting this all together and you bringing this all together, it made me excited. And I just want to say thank you, because it's always great to find people in that space from the Geek Creators site and stuff like that, who want to create something or want to push something forward and want to invest the time and energy into doing that. So I just want to say thank you again. It's really great to meet all of you again. And honestly, I'm here because I wanted to see Marco again. I hadn't seen Marco in so long, buddy. I'll hand the mic over to him. Yeah, buddy.
It's been too long, Manny. Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. We started our podcast, or I started our podcast during the pandemic. It was a typical pandemic project. I own a martial arts school. I've been a martial artist since I was 8 years old, so going on 40 years next year. Don't do the math. And I've been teaching since I was 15. So that's my life, day in and day out. I own a school, I teach, I work with kids, obviously, but I needed an outlet. My wife got tired of me talking to her about the Marvel and DC and this, and she said, "You need another outlet, because I'm tired of hearing about it. If I hear one more Spider-Man talk, I'm going to blow my brains out. So go do something with it." So I did. I was like, all right, well, screw it. I'll just go do a podcast. Why not? We'll see what happens. And then, like I said, I mostly started out on my own, just having different guests, my brother or friends. And, if we say, oh, you like this show, let's talk about, The Boys or whatever. And then it evolved, as most things do. And I found 3 other co-hosts that did it with me regularly. One is my cousin, Bruno. Another one is one of the teachers that teach at my school. Another one's a friend who trains and now teaches at my school as well. And the 4 of us get together, and hilarity or insanity ensues most of the time. Mostly it's guys stop talking over each other, but we want to hear our own voice. We give a rat's ass what everybody else is saying, so we just talk. But it's a very loose conversation. You know what I mean? We're talking about John Wick. It's somebody's thing, and we just go off on it. But our biggest thing is we probably should have changed it to entertainment tangents, because we start on a topic and quickly it's gone. And if an episode goes by, I don't talk about Batman and why they don't put the white slits in the eyes, we have to go back and re-record. If I don't tell people why I hate Tom Cruise, like, all right, Marco must be not feeling well because he didn't talk about his hatred to Tom Cruise tonight. So, and then there's some, we all have our things, right? I'm from the 80s, very geek centered. Bruno's our mathematician. He's a physicist, so he goes through all that kind of stuff. We need things.
Wow.
Mila is she's younger. She's the young one in the group. She's in her 20s. Everybody else is in their 40s or 50s. So she's the younger culture and a female and gets a lot of the music stuff. And Larry's our grump. We love Larry, but he's our wrecking grump.
Larry's my favorite. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. He is
Larry.
most people's favorite because he's that voice of like, I hate this shit. What are you doing? We have to constantly talk Larry off the edge and change his score rating for him because, dude,
I love it.
One more time. Yeah. So, and that's just the way it goes in our show. And we love having guests on. One of our favorite things now, we do our car ride home reviews of. We got hooked up with the North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts, so we get to go to their media night now and watch their shows, and then on the way home we record it, and it's super cool. Like, that was one great thing that came out. We're hoping to do more of that with other theaters in the area, but so much great things come from this. Meeting you guys is going to be, I know, an awesome adventure. Like I said, Mandy and I have known each other for a while now and make great people through his Marie and everybody, obviously. So it's exciting. I'm glad Blake reached out and we got this rolling. I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you guys said, like Ryan said, it's like, I want to be part of something too, something bigger,
Nice.
So it's cool.
And I feel like it just got started with a punch. Like I was mulling it around and I put it out there. And then, I had all three of you guys responded pretty quickly. I'm like, hey, I would like to do this. And I'm like, well, let's get rolling then. Cause I was like, well, I'll get some interest and we'll build it. But it just kind of happened. And I was cool with that. Mark, you mentioned you're a martial artist. So are you more like Ralph Macchio or William Zabka?
That's a great question. I'm definitely more of a Ralph Macchio.
Okay.
I've swept a few legs myself, but no, mostly it's, I trained in the old school, but my instructor used to kick the hell out of us. I was 8 years old training with adults, getting my legs kicked and stomach punched, and somebody we were up against the wall in one test, and I was 8. Now picture this, and think if you could get away with this today in today's culture. I was 8 years old. My first test was at 8:00 at night, and it lasted for 4 hours on a Thursday night. So I didn't call my parents to come pick me up until after 12:30. Imagine trying to do that to an 8-year-old in 2023.
Yeah,
would never happen. Meanwhile, somebody puked right next to me, and the instructor's like, "Don't look at it! Don't look at it! Don't look at it!" I'm like, "I'm 8, okay."
So I will say I train Muay Thai and boxing, and I got to train in Thailand a couple years ago, and they're different because here you're right, like you could be 18 years old and someone's mom is coming in if they get punched in the ribs too hard, but there are kids there that are like 5 years old that were better than I will ever be and have ever been, and it was just insane to watch the way that these kids train at that age. I mean, for some of them it's like that's what's going to make money, for them and their families, but it's just insane to see what kids out there are doing versus the kids here who it's like it's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. I agree. So you came up Cobra Kai and kind of fell into Miyagi.
I mean, that's really what started me off in the martial arts. It was that year when the Karate Kid came out. I was a huge Bruce Lee fan. So awesome. It was everybody was literally kung fu fighting. It's just what happened. Bruno and his brother actually started before me, and that's what I started. Like, all right, they're the instructors down the street. Let's go. Let's do this. Right. So it's been a lifelong thing. And lifelong journey.
That's fantastic, dude. I need to do something, man. I'm just starting to pack on. I got 2 kids, and you know how that goes. Yeah. I need to start kicking some stuff.
Yeah. As you say, most things start with a punch, and that's every day for me.
Wow. Fantastic. I will say this about Entertainment Rant. So I've listened to a bunch of your guys' stuff. I was listening to your vacation episode the other night because I love vacation. It's hilarious. That's great, man. You guys have me rolling. Oh my gosh, just everything. You talk about a podcast where they just say anything about anything.
Yeah,
that's your podcast. Okay, and dude, I think it was an hour. I'd been listening for 30 minutes. And I was like, man, they got to be close to done. And I look and I'm like, I've got another like 45 minutes to an hour. Bring it on.
We often lose track of time.
and it's entertaining. I mean, it's not just like rambling. It's entertaining. I felt like every minute was fresh. So we got some good stuff rolling, some great podcasts. I'm stoked about this. So what kind of inspired you guys to podcast? For me, I'm kind of like Marco here. I got into podcasting during the pandemic. Me and the boys, there's 5 of us on Dork Wars, our live stuff.
Get it, Manny.
Get it. See, if that happens again, you just got to start breaking down, you know?
Sorry. It's a little method man.
Raise that roof.
Don't bother me, Doug. But we were, it was the pandemic, and, you know, some of the guys worked from home. Some of the guys just weren't able to work. I was still going to work, but I just don't care. But we were gaming every night, playing like Star Wars Battlefront for one was a good one. We played Fortnite, we played Rocket League, we played Madden, we played everything. And night after night, this is, you know, a couple weeks into the pandemic, we were talking and we were just talking a lot of Star Wars, you know. And I'm like, dude, let's talk on the internet and let people listen to it. I think I'm entertained, so maybe others will be too. And Dork Wars was born. And a lot of us are musicians, so we kind of had the equipment to do it from the start. So it was really cool. But yeah, the pandemic kind of brought us into this world, and we've enjoyed it. And we've since moved out, like you were saying, Manny. You get pigeonholed into something. We were talking a lot of Star Wars, which I could probably talk Star Wars every single episode, but I did want to branch out. So we did that as well. Ryan, what kind of inspired you to start podcasting?
So originally start podcasting, I had been listening a lot to Star Talk Radio. This had to be like 10 years ago, like Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast. Yeah. And that, for whatever reason, I was like, I want to do that. I don't know why, like that one, but then I started listening to lots of podcasts, and and then as a big consumer of them, I was like, well, I want to do this. And so, for a long time, it was just fitness. And then like pandemic hit, and I was kind of like, you know, I felt like I'd done what I wanted to, like, I wasn't interested in continuing to do the fitness podcast, like, you know, and so, but I should say that for a while I was also on a couple of other podcasts that I would either guest host on, or there was one that I was one of the co-hosts on the Cynic Radio podcast, where we did talk a lot about pop culture and geek stuff. So I'd been used to talking about that, but then about a year ago, I was like, you know, I kind of had my own idea of what I wanted to do for myself. And so when I was rebranding my fitness podcast, you know, and kind of changing things around, I kind of had an idea of like, there's a certain, you know, for me, I love the discussion, and I also like being able to kind of just do my own thing and say, here's what I think and here's why, and, you know, in and out quickly. And so for me, it was a mix of things of like, I wanted to do that, but I love having people on. So I think part of it's just being kind of in control of my own thing, and being the person who can make those decisions, that I could do, like, you know, video essays if I want. I just like the idea of having the opportunity to do different things. And so, yeah, it's like a long way of saying, I guess, answering that question, but, you know, I love consuming podcasts and I love being on them. And so it's just fun to just do it.
Dang, that's me, man. That's me. I'm the same way. I got my first podcast I ever listened to was one called Gilmore Ball Z. So they talked about it was a husband and wife. One had seen Gilmore Girls, the other had watched Dragon Ball Z growing up, and they literally went there's Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is like the shortened version of Dragon Ball Z, you know, and they take out a lot of the screaming and stuff. So they were pretty close in episode length. So they literally went episode by episode and compared Gilmore Girls to Dragon Ball Z. Crazy premise, fantastic podcast though. I enjoyed it, and that kind of got me into it. I listened to more, and then I was like, I've always wanted to be on the radio. I always thought that would be the coolest thing, is to like do a radio show, and this is kind of the closest thing to that. So yeah, I kind of got the same story. Manny, what got you into podcasting?
I mean, when I saw people doing this, I could see myself doing it. I'm a natural storyteller. Obviously, I think every teacher is, right? Like, teaching is a performative art, and you have to get up there and you have to perform every single day, regardless of your knowledge set and stuff. So, I'm good at having a captivating, telling a story, or being, you know, I enjoyed that part of it. And I had a deep love of Star Trek. It's one of the reasons that I got into the military. It shaped a lot of my worldview in terms of equity and justice and definitely utilitarianism. So my philosophies were wrapped up in it. And then I just kicked around a lot of those Facebook groups or whatever and found that someone just like Blake, it was Jermaine at the time, Jermaine Watson, wanted to start a podcast. And just like we did when, as you were saying, like we struck while the iron was hot and it just kind of like brought itself to life. 50% is showing up. And so you just show up. You know, I don't know much about Star Wars. My niece and nephew, because my brother-in-law is really into Star Wars, they're Star Wars people.
Yeah.
And I respect it and I get it. But I'm not gonna say, because I read Dune.
Well, fine then, man.
Listen, I love Dune. I love the Frank Herbert Dune. So Star Wars for me is like, it's a little tricky because I can see that it's not exactly original, but I love the retelling of it, and I like the new stuff. I haven't seen much of it, but I've seen a bit of The Mandalorian. I've seen a little. You were talking about origin stories earlier. I loved Rogue One. I don't know if that's a contentious opinion to have, but
no, it's a popular one.
Okay.
Out of that new series of stuff, it's one of the most popular ones.
I stopped there. I didn't watch The Last Jedi or whatever. After I was like, I'm good. This is good. I'm good now. I might watch the Childish Gambino one where he plays I forget the name of the guy.
Well, so it's Solo. Oh, he was Lando.
Yeah, he was Lando Calrissian and so.
I will watch him because I want to see him on screen.
Yeah, well, fun fact. So I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and and so right a week after Lando came out, Donald Glover is hosting Saturday Night Live, both hosting and the musical guest. And so I worked at a Muay Thai gym at the time, and we get a call that, hey, or we get an email. And the email was from Donald Glover assistant. And it says, we need a trainer. So I ended up training him right when Solo came out. So for that week, I'm trained him in Muay Thai, which is just amazing. Because for me, it was like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Solo just came out. I didn't love the movie, but he's great. And I was just watching Atlanta. And Atlanta is like one of the best TV shows of all time. So it's incredible. Then fast forward a couple of months later, and I get an email from a tour manager like, hey, he's going on tour, wants a trainer. You want to come on board? You want to tour the country for 6 weeks training him? It's like, yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah. So that was crazy getting to work, kind of travel around and talk Star Wars with him. That was just, it was one of the craziest and coolest experiences like ever.
Wow.
I
can't top that one. That's it.
That's
unfortunately, cool, dude. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to top that one. It's like
it's your story. I mean,
I was at a very specific point in my life too where I could do that. Like now I can't. I have a regular, a regular job, full time. I can't just up and leave for a period of time. But for that little period, it was like that was insane.
I love Donald Glover.
Cool.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. Like, and the thing is, like, it's almost frustrating that how good he is at like everything. Even when I was teaching him Muay Thai, like he picked things up super fast. Like, and so it's just like, oh, so you just figure everything out. Like whether it's you sing, dance, act, write, whatever you do, you just it's like he's that good at just pretty much anything. It's pretty crazy.
And an original podcast.
You got me. I got tertiary attachments. You're right there. I got like side attachment. My cousin Bruno's brother works for ILM.
Yeah,
he was Iron Man in the shot where he shoots the tank.
Yeah,
my cousin was in the suit doing the mocap, and then animated himself.
Okay,
yeah. He was Darth Vader. He does the no. He was him in the suit. He was
wow.
But you got me because you were on this. That's just my cousin, man.
That's amazing, dude. Yeah. That's so cool when you get to touch the stars like that, man.
It's super cool.
Yeah,
it's super
dude,
cool.
I can't have nothing like that.
Yeah, I was going to say my cousin works at a tire shop.
Who rolled in there?
Yeah, he did the mayor's tires once. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's totally cool. Yeah, that's Donald Glover is fantastic.
I would never do this, but there's a little part of me that's like, if and when they do film a new show, it's like, reaching out to his assistant, like, hey, could you ask him, can I just be a stormtrooper, or whatever? I'll do anything. Like, just, come on, I'm 5'7", I can fit in one. Come on, please.
Weren't they casting for they do regular casting calls? And someone.
Yes, whatever. I would that's what I wish I had the I don't know what it is to do that, but I would never do it. But there's that part of me. Yeah, it's like, I'll just be a stormtrooper. Come on,
that's fantastic.
I mean, I'll call for you.
Just ring them up. We'll do it,
right.
But, guys.
Ryan's assistant.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
I like what you said, Manny. I like what you said about teaching. So I actually went to college for music education once upon a time. I did not finish. The school got way too expensive and I ran out of money. So I actually fell into something that, I make more money teaching.
God bless.
Which is good, but I still have that love. And I actually taught at a School of Rock, which is a pretty big thing here in the United States. They're all over the country.
It's a real thing.
Little franchises. Yep. It's a real thing. Yeah. It actually predates the movie. I didn't know that before I worked there. Okay. Yeah. So on the side, I had one night a week where I'd go teach at School of Rock and teach music and stuff. And I've done my own private lessons. But you're right. When you're teaching kids, especially kids, you have to be on. It is a performance. You are like, hey, I'm this. Even if you don't feel good that day, you are the show.
You get up on show and you got to show no fear because they can smell it in the water.
Yeah, I was going to say, the same thing, Marco.
They can smell fear in you from a mile away or lack of confidence. And they will eat you alive.
I'm a kid at heart, so I'm able to kind of just I'm in there with them. I mean, so
I think the best teachers are like that. They have the empathy. They remember their own childhood. Yeah. They remember what it was like to be in that space. Like, I have to go teach now, to be honest. And at this moment, I feed off of their energy. They're gonna give me their jazz, their pump, and that makes me feel good. I'm having my morning coffee, and I'm suddenly Mr. Manny. Suddenly, I'm like, okay, I come to life, right? And their excitement, their enthusiasm. Well, it's the same way now that we're in a podcast. See how we're all talking to each other?
Same thing.
That touchstone of what we did when we were children, sitting around watching E.T., sitting around watching, Back to the Future or whatever it is. It's still, you see how it just still even hits those notes, like as inside of us, just listening to your enthusiasm, your passion, it rekindles or relights that part of ourselves, right? In our adolescence. So just listening to I just brought up Rogue One and Solo just as a happenstance. And look at Ryan telling all this, like, I am blown away by your story, man.
He's rolling around the country with Donald Glover.
He buried the lead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He kept some stuff from us.
To kind of piggyback off what you said, like, imagine like what our, when we were all kids, what our version or what our thought of what it was to be an adult, and then imagine telling 8-year-old us like that, hey, when you're an adult, you're going to spend a significant portion of your life talking to other people about the stuff that you like, about whatever it is, like Transformers or Star Wars or G.I. Joe, whatever it is, that the stuff that you like, you're gonna just sit with people for an inordinate amount of time just talking about that and broadcasting it. Like,
nobody's gonna tell you to shut up like they do now.
Exactly.
Exactly. And there were those people that were like, you're gonna grow out of that eventually. Well, guess what?
No, did not.
And it's okay. And what I like is it's acceptable. Like, it's not even, I don't even feel like I'm weird because of it.
No.
So that's awesome. I feel a kinship with you guys over a lot of even just these stories we're telling now. I mean, it's just relatable. That's awesome. So Marco, what got you into podcasting, man?
I mean, I think it's kind of the same story, right? Like, I love podcasts. I listen to a ton of them. I was a huge Kevin Smith fan, so I listened to a lot of his podcasts. Him with Ralph Garman on the Hollywood Babylon. I listened to, his Fat Man on Batman, which was a huge Batman fan. So when that started out, and that's evolved, so I just a lot of podcasts. I've done the same thing. I'm like, I want to do this. I have a lot to say. My wife doesn't want to hear me anymore. I want to keep talking about this stuff. So let's, you know what I mean? And it's true. You just sit there with your friends, like, just shooting the crap for hours about Star Wars or something. And you're like, well, why the hell aren't we recording this? Like somebody else might want to hear this too, and just kind of get it out there, and you can have a conversation. So that's our big thing before the show. We're like, save it for the show, because we'll just talk for like an hour and a half before we start recording. Yeah, shit, we probably should have recorded this. But yeah, that was basically it. Like, all right, let's put some stuff together, grab some equipment, and let it evolve and see where it goes. If it goes somewhere, it does it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think we're in the 150s somewhere in the episode count now. So
Wow.
feeling good about it. And always, like, my brain keeps going. I'm a very like creative type person. I'm an artist. I draw. I paint. I do. Now I'm into like creating like pop figures for people, because I have a 600 pop figure collection, and I'm like, trying to like, I did one of me, which I think I can show you. Let's see.
Oh, let's see it. Yeah, I was going to say, you got to see it now.
I don't know if you can see it. Oh, we get rid of my background.
You got to put it in front of your face, probably.
Oh, nice.
I like it.
So not only did I do the pop, but I created the box with my logo and everything else on it. So I do like the full-on boxes and everything.
I love your merchandising, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
so Manny knows I merchandise everything. Like
he does.
I tell
Mouse
if you stand still long enough.
Ears.
Oh yeah, I definitely merchandise everything. The flamethrower is next, because the kids love that one.
I gotta get on that.
Kids love that one. Yeah,
I mean, we do everything. Keychains,
dude. I've got
everything.
I've got a picture somewhere of the of that scene in Spaceballs where Yogurt's got the flamethrower and it's got Dork Wars the podcast on the side. Yeah,
the kids love this one.
What's funny, and you saw my my merchandising kind of thing. The name of my podcast kind of is a pseudo name of, like, in Spaceballs. Of course, they had Spaceballs, the breakfast cereal, Spaceballs. So I do Spaceballs, the hat, Baseballs, the Spaceball, or excuse me, Dork Wars, the hat, Dork Wars, the hoodie, Dork Wars shirt, Dork Wars, the podcast. That's where it came from. So yeah, it runs deep, man. I mean, this stuff runs deep.
Yeah, it gets exciting. Just gets inside, like Manny said, just get you pumped, get you motivated to do stuff, and it's a great outlet just to get it out there.
It is, and
put creative stuff out there for people. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But you're just having a blast doing it. You just shoot the crap with your friends and just have fun doing it. And it's a pretty. I mean, as cost goes, it's a pretty low, entry to get into. As many other adventures can be very costly, and you just build it slowly. Start out with a mic and just go from there, and then start building.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guy that he didn't have any recording equipment. He got a USB mic and plugged it in and started recording, and he sounded great. He sounded fine. And I was able to take it and we put it in, and I do some effect stuff anyways to everybody's audio on our podcast, just, make everything sound, we want it to sound as good as possible.
Yep.
And even after you run it through that stuff, man, it sounds fine. So yeah, it's very low cost. It's fun to do, man. I love having an outlet to talk about this stuff. And I always say this, it's not just about just talking about the people, even here in the chat, but I love going out on like Facebook and having someone comment on my stuff and say, hey man, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. I really like this. And we talk about it. That is the coolest thing to me, to reach out to people I've never even heard of and talk about Star Wars, talk about Marvel, talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, or talk about whatever. It's so cool. So I love podcasting, man. It's been a great ride. So I do want to ask this as well. Your favorite fandom. What is your favorite fandom? I'm going to start with Manny because I think it's almost obvious. It's almost
Star Trek. Cut and dry. Obviously, I love Star Trek. The ethos of Star Trek and the way that it was told, the aesthetic of Star Trek: The Next Generation, it really set the stage, I think, for a lot of the pattern. I was in the Scouts and Cubs and stuff like that, and I love the idea of scientists in space, like that idea of going out and exploring. And then I did it. I wanted that life, and so just people dislike, I think, when a franchise that they really love gets turned into something new or refreshed or exciting. Nimoy said it best: like, if you're not, it always has to regenerate and become something new. Maybe Star Wars purists, they don't like new stuff. I don't know. But the glut of new things all at once, right? Now we're parsing through all of this stuff as adults. There's so much fodder, I think, for our podcast that, we're sort of overwhelmed sometimes because there is so much to discuss that we become picky and we forget that we spent like decades with nothing. It was a wasteland out there. So yes, I definitely go with Star Trek.
Awesome. And I love Star Trek as well. So I'm a big Star Wars guy and I'm a big Star Trek guy. So there's not a lot of us out there. I had someone on our podcast refer to Star Trek as the other star thing. So it happens. But I love Star Trek, man. It does have that aesthetic. It has that cool kind of it's in the numbers more than Star Wars is not really sci-fi. It's a space fantasy. It's got lizards,
Space Western.
Yeah, space Western, space fantasy. It's got hokey magic stuff. You try to like break down some of the well, I guess you could break it down, but they don't go to the trouble of breaking down like hyperspace and why the lightsaber works all the time. They have the kyber crystals. They explain it later, but there's a lot of things they just do not go into detail about. But Star Trek's very different. They're very detail oriented, very in the numbers, and that's why I love watching Star Trek.
Me too.
The original movies, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock. Someone posted something from what's the fourth one?
Voyage Home.
Yes, Voyage Home. And that is I love it. It's the goofiest Star Trek movie I think there's ever been. You got Spock in
still one of my
80s.
favorites though.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, Star Trek is up there.
The first videotape I ever owned as well.
Wow,
guys, I'm so sorry. I
VHSs.
gotta get going. I have to get to work. I apologize. No, I'm sorry, but
no,
I really enjoyed my time. I'll catch the rest of your thing later. It's like 6:35.
Watch the sun come up behind you.
Yeah, right.
I that's why I came to you first on this one too as well. I knew you said you had to go. So no, thank you for being on. Plug yourself real quick before you go.
Trek is the light. Hit us up. Go see all of these guys' podcasts. Amazing stuff. I can't wait to get more into it. But if you're into Star Trek and goofy people having a great time, we're not quite as blue as Entertainment Rants, but we're trying. I love it. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much for having me on. And I really look forward to seeing where this collective goes in the future. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I just want to say thank you very much, Ryan, Blake, Marco. Thank you so much for dealing with me and for having me here. I really, really enjoyed this. And I can't wait to see you guys again.
All right, man.
Catch up,
Thank
Manny.
you, man.
Talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
Take
man.
care.
Thank you for being on. Have a good one. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Manny's
All right,
cool,
good. He's
man.
gone. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, Manny, I can't stand Manny. Come on, who invited him? No, great guy, man. Just enthusiastic for.
Yeah, Manny's awesome. Like I said, I've been on his show a few times. We did a Voyager trivia night. It was really fun. That's as Star Trek goes. That's my one. Like that's the one I know most about. Even though I grew up with Next Generation, Voyager, the one I latched onto the most. So that's the one. Like he knows I'm a Voyager fan through and through. So yeah, he's an awesome dude. Man, he's a lot of fun. Really nice guy too.
Talk
really
about genuine. Nice. He's genuine, and that's something you don't find a lot. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So Ryan, I want to come to you, man. If you got a fandom, what is your fandom?
I mean, definitely Star Wars has to be my favorite. But like I'd say Batman specifically is like if we're looking at a DC or Marvel character is probably a close second for me, but definitely Star Wars. I think what's unique to me about Star Wars, and I guess you can see this with a lot of different things right now, is that the entry point, you can really come from any entry point. For some people, it's the original trilogy. For some people, it's the sequel trilogy. For some people, it's The Mandalorian now. For some people, it's the books. For me, it was like I wasn't a big Star Wars fan growing up. And then it all started with me playing the Jedi Academy video games. And for some reason, I started playing that. And then I played Knights of the Old Republic, and that was like the greatest game ever. And then I was like, I gotta get into Star Wars. And then I just went back and then I started reading all the books, and all of a sudden it was like from that it was the biggest thing for me. And so I do like that, again, there's so many different entry points to get into it that it's not just, there's no one way. And you could like the comics. I know people who love the comics and don't really care much for everything else right now, or who love love the novels. So there's a lot there that you can take some things, you could take others, you could love, hate, whatever it is. But I just love the different mediums that you can kind of consume Star Wars in. And so I definitely would say that's it. With, like I said, with Batman being like a close second for me.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Star Wars is one of them things you can kind of get into anywhere. I mean, you can start at the originals, you can start at the prequels, you can start at Clone Wars, you can start at the sequels if that's what you like. You can start anywhere.
So one quick question. I happen to think that The Last Jedi is one of the best Star Wars movies. Am I wrong among this group?
Or on an island by yourself.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah,
we'll throw you a sandwich.
I can see the appeal. I get people who say that, and at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I can't get on board. I just can't.
Even Mark Hamill was having a hard time finding an appeal for that
So
one.
the discussion for another day, but I honestly think it's like, and the more that I've actually like, I had to do a whole project on Rian Johnson actually, and I had to go through his entire filmography and it was a whole research paper for a course I was doing, and I actually appreciated him as a writer and a filmmaker even more after going through that. But I already thought that Last Jedi was probably second for me, behind Empire Strikes Back. But I do think it's one of the best movies. But it's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie, but I don't think it's a good Star Wars movie. So we'll definitely have that.
That's that is a fair point, because I think that's part of the issue, right? Is that it does take its own liberties in a way that it's like then you have to ask that question, like, is it a Star Wars? Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. So that's a great discussion. I see, and we're already like we've got some ideas rolling already. We got MCU talk.
The sequels in general had their issues.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Once the Disney got a hold of it, and they made the new the first one, and it was A New Hope over again.
Yeah. It was.
You know what I mean? Like it was just a retelling of A New Hope.
But it did its job.
Yeah.
It introduced some characters.
It did,
Again, it was a huge gap between. Yeah. But it's funny how that the sequels made the prequels lovable. Everybody just trashed the prequels.
Yeah.
Until the sequels came along, those aren't as bad as we thought.
Right. Well, I was one.
I mean, we get rid of the racism in the first one and all the horrific stereotypes. And the Rastafarian and the Italian junk dealer and the horrific Asian businessmen.
The crepes are no good out here.
I mean.
It's pretty bad.
It was just rampant. I don't know how we let that get through, but it did.
But I think the sequel trilogy, the issue is, you're right. Like, I think the bigger problem, rather than any of the movies, I do think the Rise of Skywalker was terrible. Was pretty bad. I mean, it was like pretty awful. But beyond that, it's that there were 3 individual movies, and there was no cohesion between them, and that's a big thing. It's like, as much as I love The Last Jedi, I mean, as much as I love The Last Jedi, it's so disconnected from the other two. And also one of the big issues for me was that it was like there were certain things that happened in The Last Jedi that and maybe that take dings it a little bit, that I wanted to see things in the next step in the next movie to justify some things that happened in that movie. Like, for example, like a quick example is with Poe. Like he I wanted to see his character face consequences for what he did in that movie, and he never does. And so there's like those things that, like, if there were more cohesion, it would have made each of those movies a little bit better and make more sense. But didn't, and we got what we got, unfortunately.
I'm with you, man. What I hate is it's literally a tug of war between J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
I wished he just did all 3 of them.
Did all 3 of them.
Just to make it cohesive. That would have been,
I would have
to swallow.
I would look better on those movies if they were cohesive.
Yeah.
And literally J.J. Abrams directs Rise of Skywalker like he's trying to undo everything for The Last Jedi.
Pretty much.
So you're literally just
the way you want to run a movie.
Yeah, and it's just pop, 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 pop. You have so many different pop, 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 pop. It just it doesn't really connect. It's like you're just seeing different scenes throughout this whole thing. And I mean, I think the
sequels had choices, just some really bad choices for storytelling, with Rey being a Palpatine and where they're going with that one, and he had fake sex with somebody, like, you know what I mean, we don't know who, and had a son, and like then he had a kid, and like what is going on here with the story? What is the love connection porn part of this Star Wars movie that we're dealing with? And then you have her being able to bring Ben back to life. Well, there's a power we never saw before. She's bringing people back to life, but you couldn't do that before.
Right. And I will say that Star Wars, a lot of times you'll get the movies and then you'll get media, especially the prequels. You'll get media that kind of accentuates the movies.
Yeah.
But you have to have firm ideas in the said movies. And while I think there are great ideas in the sequel trilogy, they were executed horribly. Just not well at all. So I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah. No,
it's just tough.
Sorry, I derailed there.
No, that's perfect.
Skywalker saga just went on way too long, and it's still kind of it's lingering, it's still attaching, and it's like things like the Mandalorian work. And we've talked about this on my show too. It's like it works because it's not attached. Star Wars universe, it's strong writing. It's a character we knew nothing about. So there's no preconceived notion. That's one of the reasons Boba Fett didn't work out so well. Like everybody had this strong feeling of, I love Boba Fett. Oh, great. He's a monk that spends all his time in a bacta tank. Who gives a shit? Just move on. Be Boba Fett again. You're not.
Yeah,
you're not. They nerfed him like they nerfed the Hulk. Like this is getting ridiculous, Just get away from the Skywalker stuff and you get new characters. That's why I am excited for the stuff they're talking about, right? Go back to the origins of the Jedi Order and all these other things that they can pull apart that have nothing to do with the Jedi saga, anywhere near at a whole section of time.
Yeah.
Well, tell some amazing stories.
And the problem is, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the expanded universe, the mainly book line, but also comics, video games, whatever. Mainly the novels, though. They did tell some stories that were not so great, but on the whole, they are loved. And I loved them, man. Growing up, I was born in the 90s. I'm a 92 baby, so early 90s. And growing up, I pretty much grew up with the prequels. I was 7. I was 7 when Phantom Menace came out. But I'd seen the remastered original shows. Love Star Wars, and I got to grow up with the prequels. But there was still a spell, like, not as bad as those who grew up with the originals and had to wait to the prequels.
Yeah.
But there was still a spell there. And I got into those books, and I love the Thrawn trilogy. Came out the year before I was born. They started. So I love the Thrawn trilogy. I love what they did coming into the Yuuzhan Vong. I know that's kind of a divisive thing, but I like the ideas there. It's a little Trekky, actually, a little Star Trekky, but I'm cool with it. I love Trek. So
a lot of Senate meetings in Star Trek.
A
lot of politics and just somebody throw a punch, use a laser.
Right. And then I like where it, and they unfortunately we never got resolutions of some of those characters because of the Disney buyout. But you have a lot of those stories there that resonate with fans that they really love and enjoy, and you're gonna have to make some stuff that at least meets those stories. And I think some of the mediums that they're telling it in is not the best way to do it. And, some, of course, a discussion for another time, but you could do it better sometimes.
Yeah.
And it has to come at 100% all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Marco, what is your fandom? What is your favorite fandom of all?
I mean, it's so varied, but if I have to really boil it down, it's probably comics, that sort of stuff, like comic book movies, TV shows. Like Ryan said, like Batman has always been. I mean, Batman's always been my number one. It's everywhere. It always will be. I'm slowly bringing my son in. He's now riding a Batmobile, driving a Batmobile around the house. You know what I mean? It's like he's always been top of my list, right? He's that hero that you can almost think about being. Right? If you had enough money and you could train yourself and somebody shot your parents, you could be Batman.
You could be Batman.
You could be Batman. You can't be Superman, right? You're not an alien from another world, Batman. But you could be Batman, right? So like that was a very easy hook for people. He had no powers, you know what I mean? Just built himself up and could be anybody, right? So that would made it very easy for me as a kid to hook onto Batman. I loved the 66 show. Thankfully I was not alive when it was made, but like made me feel old. Be like, 92. I'm like, just go get my Ben Gay. But so I was 76. So I was born in 76. So like I grew up in the 80s. Superpowers, right? Super Friends. Like that was and
I love all that. I was lucky enough that when I was growing up, they played those on rerun. You watch Boomerang, even Cartoon Network. I got to watch Super Friends on Sundays. They come on every Sunday. Love Super Friends.
I watched them when they came out.
Yeah. So, at the same time, though.
G.I. Joe, Mask, original Ninja Turtles.
I'm so glad that I at least got to experience those. Because I mean, even I grew up in a time where there wasn't streaming services and you couldn't just click and find whatever you wanted. I had to watch what came on TV. You had to watch what came on TV. So
Sad every year. Wait for Rudolph to come on.
Yeah,
Rude if you missed it. I'm gonna hold my pee for 30 minutes because Rudolph's on. I don't care.
Rudolph's on. I'm not gonna see it for another year.
Couch.
So I was lucky enough to live in a time where they still played those shows, and I was able to experience them. I'm like Thundercats. I got to experience Thundercats.
Yeah.
I got to experience Super Friends. I got to experience all that stuff. So yeah, I'm thankful for that because there's kids today have no idea about that stuff.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. That's kind of the core. Like growing up, I watched those things and ingested them. That's what got me into this stuff.
Sure. And they were just genius. I mean, that was that time when they relaxed on the we can't market to kids. And they're like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want. Like every TV show in the 80s was literally just a commercial for the toys. That's all it was. Right? He-Man cartoon was because they made a line of toys. Like, we need a way to sell this. Make a cartoon out of it. You know what I mean? And it was a beautiful thing. And boy, I ate it up hook, line, and sinker. My Christmases were ridiculous. You know what I mean?
And those are still the biggest franchises that are around today. I mean, or none. They keep remaking that stuff because it resonated.
Yeah.
So, you would think that my biggest stuff would be Star Wars. Whoa. I'll tell you what. Why don't y'all talk about your fandom just for a moment? I have to attend to my son.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, I go all over the map though. Like I said, Batman's my big thing, but like as a child of the 80s, like I grew up with everything. So much stuff. Movies. Like, I'm a huge movie and TV show watcher. My wife comments constantly. It's like, I weep for your childhood. You watched way too much crap. I was a kid every night at the dinner table watching Three's Company. Probably should have been watching Three's Company during dinner. I mean, that was a little bit progressive for the time. But I did, and I enjoyed every second of it. We didn't watch the news. We watched Cheers. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it was. I watched the Bundys on Married with Children. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff we probably shouldn't have been watching.
Yeah, well, I think about that. Like, I remember like RoboCop. Like I was a kid, I should not have been in the theater watching RoboCop. But like constantly, they marked. But like it was like the toys were such a big deal for RoboCop that like
there's a lot of movies. I watched Tootsie in the theater with my mother.
Oh wow,
my mother took me. And if you ever listen to my show, I say it all the time. And my wife was like, "Oh my god, your mother took you to see that?" I'm like, yeah, she's taking me all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff that we probably shouldn't have been watching as a kid. But she liked going to the theaters. She liked going to the movies. My father wouldn't go. He never liked to go. So my brother and I would go with her. And we'd go see. I mean, I saw Eddie Murphy Raw when it came out in the theaters.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, that was what, the late 80s?
Yeah. That's got to be
76. Right?
So that's like mid to like, God, I want to think
88, 89. Yeah. That was 390. So like at best I was 14.
Oh wow, yeah,
right. And I was in the theater watching Eddie Murphy Raw. Like, there's no way I should have been there, but that was the time. Like, exactly. Sounds good to me. Just don't say it at school. I don't really care. Don't repeat it at school.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about? I got some ice cream.
That's right.
Like, okay, I didn't care.
That's it. Yeah, man. That was a first. We've never had that happen on Dual Course before. That's awesome. Son is usually well asleep when we're doing this. But anyways, he had something on his leg or something. I have no idea. I sent him to his mom. But yeah, you would think that my big fandom is Star Wars. And it is sometimes. I get into everything. I'm kind of like Marco, man. I love Superman. I'm a Superman guy. I love Superman. And I love Batman too. They're definitely like 1 and 2, you know. And I agree with you on the slits in the eyes. Why can't they do white slits in the eyes? It would not be
any cosplayer can do it with their low rent budget and make it look amazing. You think the studio companies with the billions could make it work?
I mean, I could probably bring a scene into my editor and do it myself. You know,
you don't have to. They did it with Daredevil. He's got animated eyes. And it friggin' I'm not Daredevil, Deadpool, and it freaking works.
So I 3D printed this, and it's got the white. It's not lighting up, but I was able to wear this, and the eyes light up, and so it has that white effect. I took a picture of mine, and it looked great, and like it's like why can't you just
do that? I don't want to see anybody emote from their eyes in a Batman suit.
Yeah,
Just put the white and have the brow animate like Deadpool. How hard is that?
And give us the nipples. Give us the bat nipples back. Just do that with the eyes, okay?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And it's really not that hard. Like I said, there are cosplayers out there that do an amazing job, and they refuse to do it in a movie. I don't understand why. And if Spider-Man takes his effing mask off one more time, I don't care to see his face. And that's Spider-Man 2. No, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the only movie he doesn't lose his mask in the final scene, the final fight.
Every Spider-Man movie, other than that one, he's lost the mask.
It's not you in the suit fighting. You're getting paid. Take a break. Go home. Yeah. We got this. We'll animate you. Yeah. Do some voiceover and take a day off, will you? Yeah. I gotta see his face. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Well, that's what I loved about. I just saying this huge not fight, but like I'd argue with my a co-host on a podcast that I was on about the Mandalorian, because what I loved about the show was that he never took, like about the seasons 1 and for the most part, he never takes the mask off. Like we don't need. I know it's Pedro Pascal. I don't need to see his face.
It's not anymore.
And it's not even that's true. Right? So much so that the other guys get actual credit for it. But so and I like that, he acts well in the mask, and we don't need to see his face, and that works. Like that's the character. Keep the mask on, and it was a
annoying. Strong performance, emotionally, physically. Like it was a strong. It never saw his face.
Yeah,
just his mouth, little.
And when you do see his face, it's impactful. It means something. And that's where it works.
Yeah. I think every line that he delivers, even that Monetus boom, dude, that is powerful. It's impactful to his character. Every single time. And like you said, when he takes the mask off, that's when you know it's real.
So imagine a Batman movie where you're not seeing his goofy eyes through the whole movie. And it's just the slits staring at you, which is the heart. That's the scary part of Batman. That's how he puts that fear in the villains, because you can't see his eyes. You can't see what he's thinking. You can't read his eyeballs, right? That's the window. You can't see it. All you see is that white dead eye looking at you. Right, until you get the Bob Kane, he's smiling. He's happy fighting crime at that point. I don't know why, but stop. Why are you smiling at me? That's creepy. Stop smiling at me. But it would be so much more impactful if they wouldn't do that.
I agree. And I think it's the Mando episode where Bill Burr is in it pretty heavily in the second season. I can't remember which episode it is now, but when they infiltrate that Imperial remnant base, and they're going through and they're talking, and he takes his mask off, and it's like
that's an incredible bit of storytelling, right? Like here's this, he will not take it off. He absolutely won't, because I gotta get this baby back. All right, I gotta do, and it meant something. Seeing him, knowing how much it hurts him to walk around without that mask in front of people, that actually meant something. And so it's like totally like that's the payoff for not taking that mask off for a season and a half at that point.
And you can tell he acts it very well. It is a big moment for him. That's one of my favorite episodes in the entire series.
And then kudos to Bill Burr's performance too, because he plays it as somebody that like he wants to make fun of him. But he knows he can't, because he knows how painful that is. So he
respects him.
Exactly. So no jokes, no pot shots, because it's like, okay, wow, I realize this is serious.
I didn't think you were going to do that, and you did. It's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Absolutely.
Last season was a little tough going, but
totally. That was frustrating. I feel like as much as I
became the we call him Booker Raton. We call him Booker Raton show. That became her show at that point.
Yeah, and like as much as I loved seasons 1 and 2. I think it was like amazing, as good. Like in different ways. Like I thought Andor was maybe the best Star Wars thing ever too. But like I think like in different ways they're both amazing. I think it should have ended at season 2. Like that's the perfect ending, right? Like, he gives up this person that he loves. They go their separate ways. You have this perfect story, beginning, middle, end. That's it. Like it should have ended there. And what we get now, it just doesn't live up to what we got.
And then get a later Grogu way far away.
Absolutely. Exactly.
We're gonna get them all back when they do the final.
Right.
Movie, right? When
you go into Book of
Boba Fett and Ahsoka together.
And when you go into Boba Fett and you see he hijacks the show for the 2 episodes and then a lot of the last one, it's just like what happened? This is Mandalorian.
And it's like, wait, so
the Boba Fett show became the Mandalorian season like 2.5.
Exactly.
Right at the end, with that one episode, he was on screen. I think Boba Fett was on screen for like 35 seconds total, and had no dialogue in his own show.
Yeah, there's some weird
struggling.
Some weird choices with some of the shows and how they decide to tell these stories.
Yeah. But I'm all over the place with my fandom, man. Sometimes it's Star Wars, sometimes it's comic books, it's Marvel. Sometimes it's like I don't get into a ton of anime. I really like Dragon Ball Z, which I grew up with, Naruto, which came out when I was young. It's pretty cool. And then the latest one I like is My Hero Academia. It's pretty cool as well. But those are my big three that I just kind of get into and nerd out about. Back to the Future, I'll get into that. Then I'll get into Mel Brooks. Harry Potter. Love Harry Potter. Oh my gosh, I have to do a once a year read through of all the books and stuff. So I'm into about everything, man. And I can't pick one because I'll pick one and I'm like, nah, got to move to the next one. And then it's always something, man. It's hard for me to decide. It's like my kids. You can't
There's so
tell
much content out there, so many things to digest. It's wonderful. You don't have to get bored.
It is, and
you keep moving through.
You move through it, and then in the times we live in, the most popular media that we all love is right at your fingertips for the most part. And I think we're, as soon as I'm done watching the Harry Potter movies, I'm like, well, what's next? Oh yeah, I can watch all the Star Wars. And then I'm done with all the Star Wars. I'm like, oh yeah, I can watch Back to the Future. And I can be done with Back to the Future. Like, oh man, I can watch all the Jurassic Parks because I got them on Vudu, or I've got HBO Max, so I can watch all Jurassic Park. And then you can just move. Then I want to watch The Office, so you watch all 7 seasons of The Office, and you just move to the next thing. And it's
and that's like my pop figure collection is basically like a who's who. It's a tell-all of my fandom. Because it started out very, first it was like, these things are stupid. They got big heads and these. Okay, wait. Oh, wait, they have Office Pops? All right, I'm going to get some Office Pops. But I'm going to get a few. I have the entire collection. Every episode, I have every single one of them. All right, I'm not going to get anything else. I'm just going to stick with you. Oh, wait a minute. They have Big Bang Theory? I should get some Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
I really like the Big Bang Theory.
Can I have Sheldon?
600 pops later, and I'm like just starting to weed out some of like, all right, I don't think I need all the ad icons. I don't think I need the apple pie guy. Probably don't need that one, things like that. But it was just one thing after another. I have the Cheers collection. My wife has the Golden Girls. Like, it's just one thing for my child. That's Danger Mouse pop, for God's sakes.
So I've not gotten into pops. I've not. And
Don't save yourself.
Well, that's the thing, because for one, I'm always like, do I want to take it out of the box or do I want to keep it in the box? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with it. And then I'm like, there's so many cool ones. I'm like, well, where do I start? And then I'm like, dude, if I buy one, I'm gonna have to buy like 1,000 of these things. So that's where I'm at.
Collection is ridiculous. Every fandom with I can't forget how many, like, The Office has probably well over 50 different. You know what I mean? They just released a new collection of them from the Fun Run episode.
Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah, so like it's kind of endless, right? They got Andy with a yellow shirt on, his nipples are bleeding, and things like Michael with the big check for science. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Meredith with
that's
the hip
thing.
cast. Like, it's
they make a pop for everything. Whoever came up with Funko Pops, freaking genius.
Oh, absolutely,
it was genius. They've got Dolly Parton Funko Pops.
Yeah, they just keep buying license after license, except for Tom Cruise. Won't let it happen.
Really?
Doesn't like anything that doesn't look like him. He won't let it. So they came out with Interview with the Vampire Pop section. No Lestat. How do you have an Interview with the Vampire collection with no Lestat?
I'm with you, man. You know
furthers my hatred for Tom Cruise.
I'm right. You know what, Marco? I've always been kind of indifferent to Tom Cruise. His best performance for me was War of the Worlds. So that'll tell you something how I feel about him. I'm with you. Screw Tom Cruise. Yeah. You heard it here. You heard it here, folks.
There it is. Another one on my train. I like this. You're on board.
I'm on board now. You're not going to make a Funko Pop? If someone calls me and says, we want a Dork Wars of podcast Funko Pop collection, I'm like, yeah, baby, put my face on a Funko.
I'm telling you, they have you pop yourself now once. So I did myself, my wife, and my kid, and but I alter them. I make the box. I make a new box completely. I design in Photoshop and have staples printed, and I construct the boxes. That's cool. I'm having one made for all my guys for entertainment rants.
Wow!
I'm going to give them to gifts as Christmas. I already designed them, and I got the guys of the 3 Geeky Dads that are on the network. They want them too.
Yeah,
they want
that's
Funko Pops to them. So it's really cool. Like, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
It's
It's a trip. It's a trip.
It is. It
Lot of
is.
fun.
And I want to get into them, but I also don't.
Yeah.
For good
I
reason.
know.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's a wonderful thing, but if you cannot do it, don't do it. It's once you go down that rabbit hole. 600, I know, is a lot, but in the grand scheme, there are people with thousands,
yeah.
thousands of them.
I'm always astonished when I go to the store and find new ones, and I'm like, gosh, how many more can there be?
And where do
And
you put them all? Like, I got 600. I don't know where the hell I'm going to put them all. Like,
And-
they're
like,
all in tubs in storage.
and it's literally everything that isn't Tom Cruise. So
Yeah, it pretty much is. It really is, but it is a lot of fun. And so one of the things we started doing on our show a long time, like right from the beginning, was if you're a guest on the show, if you came in and did it, I'd give you a pop based on whatever topic we were talking about.
wow, that's
Right?
cool.
So the first time I had somebody come on, I think it was Larry. His first episode was the episode on the boys. So I gave him a Homelander pop.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was like our gift coming on the show. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you guys, what are your favorite episodes of your podcast? So, Ryan, coming to you, what is your favorite episode of your podcast? If you have one, do you have one?
That's a good question. I'd
me.
have to think about that because I don't know. I like it was early on in my new podcast, but I do like the episode where I talk about Marvel and the studio system. I just thought it was something I actually did a really well researched and I put a lot of work into it. I probably would have done it differently if I did it now, just even a year later. But I think that was pretty good as far as just the content. So I'll go with that for now. But yeah, that's a good question. I'm not. Yeah, like I'd have to sit and think about it and go through the podcast to see what my favorite. But that I'll put that one up there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. And I think our audio only podcast, we are up to. We started season 2. We took a pretty big hiatus. Just everybody was busy, and we took a pretty big one. And we came back, and I said we used to do like the Star Wars Roman numeral thing, where we did episode 1, and we got up to episode 50, not quite 50. So I think we got to episode 40 something doing that model. And it was like, man, this is getting ridiculous with the Roman numerals, and it's really long and it's stupid. So let's just go season 2 and start season 2, episode 1. Yeah, but we're probably close to 50 episodes in on our audio, even though we've been doing it since like 2021. I think we debuted on New Year's Eve of 2020. So 2021 is really when we started, and it's hard, man. Even with just those episodes and with all the lives that I've done as well, we've been doing the lives for a little over a year, and it's hard to narrow it down. Really is. So, Marco, do you have a favorite of any of your podcast episodes?
I mean, it's hard. It is hard. We're up in the 150s, but I think I do. It is tough because it's kind of like, all right, I love all of them. They're my babies. You don't want to call one of your kids ugly, but I mean, I definitely have some ugly episodes. But I think
we do too.
It's definitely. I think there's one of them. I think I ended up pulling off the channel altogether. I'm like, that was not good. And it was a guest episode too.
No.
Yeah. But I think more recently, probably my favorite one is our John Wick episode. I think we're all kind of like firing all cylinders on that episode. It was just a huge passion for everybody that was on the show. So it was just like that was one of our big ones that we really enjoyed doing. And then we did a huge, further back, we did a huge crossover with all the guys from the Three Geeky Dads. We had them all down at the studio at my dojo and just set up like tons of mics, and everybody had headphones, and it was a crazy day, but that was really fun because it was a huge crossover episode for us. And then we all went out and like drank and had pizza and stuff afterwards. So that was really cool. But those are probably my two favorites.
Yeah, man. And those are some good guys too. The Three Geeky Dads. I thoroughly enjoy their podcast. So
they're
check
pretty
them
awesome.
out as well.
Yeah. But they have I was telling my wife, they have a message, like a voicemail system. I can't wait. I'm going to call and harass them, like I think weekly. Just guys' voices and be like, you guys are really great, but I really think the entertainment podcast is better than yours. You should be trying to be like them.
Do a voice every time.
Every time we change the voice every time. Just harass them.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. No, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Awesome, man. And it's hard. It's hard to pick a favorite episode of your show. It is. It really is. But without further ado, before we end, we do have to get our word of the week from Master Yoda. You can't not do that. So without further ado, we'll see what Master Yoda has in the tank for tonight.
There is more knowledge here than anywhere else in the galaxy. There is more knowledge here than anywhere else in the galaxy.
Collaboration. The word of the week is. No, that's very good, Master. Usually you're just all out of sorts, man, and I never know what to expect. But yeah, collaboration's good. We got this new podcast network going on, talking about all these fun and different things, and I am so stoked to be a part of this thing. And collaborations are fun. Yes, until you destroy an entire galactic government. Yeah, you're right about that, Master. That'll put a damper on things. Yes, the Jedi, not great they were. Bad things we did. Yeah, and it's good that you can reflect on that now that you're a Force ghost and all that, and you can just kind of hone in and maybe make the next generation better. Yes, all the time I do. Strike trees with lightning and things. Yeah, I saw that on screen. That was okay. I didn't know you could do that. So, but a lot of powers we have. Yeah, so I'm gonna go on and end this now. We have to run. We're hitting on 2 hours, so I'm excited about the whole podcast network thing. Just starting this thing up. Some great guys, and Master, as always, you are a part of this podcast, so I don't need you going over to any others. So don't try to jump ship. See, we will. The paycheck. Great it could be. Well, I mean, more than you get paid here. Surely. All righty. Thank you for the word of the week, Master. We're going to have to get away from you now because, dude, I tell you, Yoda's getting crotchety in his old age. And I just can't. Sometimes I just have to kind of work some things with him. Pay disputes and the like. But before we get out of here, let's plug the podcasts. We got to know, where can we find you guys? Of course, we have bio.link / Subculture Pod Network. So bio.link / Subculture Pod Network. Had it down there most of the show. So you can check out all these other great podcasts. You want to talk about people who know what they're talking about? It's these folks here. And there's different flavors, man. You got deep dives, you've got comedy, you've got both. I mean, you've got a wide array of just fantastic content to hear from all the podcasts you already have. So let's go on and plug you. Ryan, where can we find you on the World Wide Webs?
So portableholepublishing.com. If you want to just find the website. YouTube is at Portable Hole Publishing. Podcast on anything, just look up the Portable Hole podcast and find it there. Social media, you can also find mostly on Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram would be portable_hole, and I've forced myself to do some TikTok interesting results. We'll just say that. Also, I think portable_hole, and then on Facebook you can find Portable Hole Publishing.
Fantastic. I think as people who guest on podcasts here, we have to get good at that spiel, right?
Yeah.
You have to get good at like naming all the stuff.
Yeah.
It was one of my earlier ones. I was on a show. It was Shouting Into the Void. Some British guys that did this show. One of them was actually on Doctor Who, and it was another show in Britain that took off pretty big. And I was on their podcast, and I went through the thing. It was like, man, like, you were really good at that. I'm like, I've done it a couple times, and it's like, you got to know where you're at. But yeah, man, the TikTok thing is, we've been doing TikTok forever now, and it's hard to break into what's a good TikTok, because I've had stuff that I've watched and I'm like, dude, I think that's hilarious and I think it's great. And then I'll have people comment and do, and it'll go up to like 1,000 views in an hour and then just dies.
And
it's like, what happened? Like, people reading this up? What happened? So
Yeah.
I don't understand TikTok, the algorithm and all, but yeah, at least some people got some enjoyment. Marco, where can we find you and your podcast on the World Wide Webs?
So we keep it super simple. We're entertainmentrants.com. You can find us on the Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere podcasts are listed. If you go to our website, all the links are there. Our social media is very simple. It's at Entertainment Rants, except for Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it now. That's at Entertained Rants because it's apparently can't handle that many letters. Right. So that's where we are. We have a YouTube channel, but like I said, easiest way to do it is just go to entertainmentrants.com and find all the links there.
Awesome. And that's why we got the bio link. It's real simple. I think that the bio link goes to both of your guys' home websites, if I'm not mistaken. So the easiest place to find everything that is Entertainment Rants or the Portable Hole Publishing Podcast. We also have Trekker's Delight on there. Had to leave earlier. Manny, awesome guy. Awesome podcast. I really enjoy listening to those guys. And we also have the Iconis podcast. So check them out as well, all on the bio link. And you'll hear more from us as a collective, individually. Just this is going to be a lot of fun. As always, check out dorkwarsthepodcast.com. We would like you to chat with us on the socials, Facebook, Twix, Instagram. We're getting back into Instagram now. These guys have got a good foray into Instagram. We did, man. We had some good Instagram stuff, but I'm not really good at it. Wesley took care of it, and then he kind of fell off of it. And then we just, so I'm trying to get back into Instagram a little bit. We're everywhere though. I mean, if there's a social media, we probably have a profile there, and we try to update everything with our stuff. YouTube, I finally kind of gotten to the community of YouTube stuff where I can make posts and all, and I didn't know you could do that. So definitely check that out. And thank you guys for being on. Awesome discussion so far. Just tonight, just that came out, I posed some questions out there and I asked a few of them, but conversation usually drives my shows, and that's how I like it. And I feel like this is going to be a good partnership. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was nice to have a show where we're not talking over each other.
That's right. Yeah. And you do podcasts a little bit, and of course, when it's your guys, you're like, man, I'm going to say what I want to. Yeah. We'll edit it out later, maybe.
I think I've only edited out one thing. My wife made me edit out.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, like I get tired and I go rogue. She's like, no, you can't leave that in there. Yeah. I think it was our Mandalorian episode or something like that. And when they gave Grogu the little circle-y chest thing. Yeah, like the armor could have gone on his head. He could have been Groju. I'm like, what is that? It looks like a yarmulke for his head. She's like, you can't say Groju on the air, dude. You have a business. People are gonna hear that shit. I'm like, finally,
said it on my show. What's up? No, that's hilarious. Yeah, whatever.
I thought so. I have friends and like, that's hysterical.
It's hilarious. No, I get it. I totally get it. But it's these kind of things that I enjoy. And of course, thank you guys. Thank you everyone who's listening. We still have some folks on the stream. Thank you for joining the stream and the live chat. I know the live chat died down when we kind of got in. Maybe they're just so focused in. I can see it. We still have people. Like this guy just came out of nowhere on Twitch. What's going on? I've never had Okay, I've never had this guy on my stream. It's good to see you. Thank you. Come back for more. We're actually about to end. So you can catch the replay on YouTube. I think you can on Twitch. I don't know. I've just started doing the Twitch and Facebook thing. I know you can go look back on it on Facebook, but thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging with me and all these other great podcasts. So check out the Subculture Podcast Network, and may the force be with you.
Thank you for supporting Dork Wars, the podcast. You can check us out on Facebook.com/Dork Wars, the podcast. And if you would like to join in on the discussion or maybe suggest topics for us to discuss, please do so by joining our Discord community or sending us an email at dorkwarspodcast@gmail.com.